Hey, this is Troy Taylor with the Championship Football Coaches Clinic, sponsored by Rack Coach and Sports Workbook. I got the guys from the Alabama High School Football Chat, and I'm so excited because I love Alabama. I've never been there. I've only coached one player from there, from Selma, Alabama, Eddie Johnson, who went to the Miami Hurricanes, and we recruited him to Virginia Union. And I used to pick up Eddie every single morning from Whole Street at, I think it was 5 a.m. If he got out of bed, and I had to dodge basically walking zombies. All right, in the city of Richmond. I don't even know if y'all got places like that in Alabama. But guys, for the people that don't know, can y'all introduce yourselves, JD, and tell us a little bit about you and where you're from?
Yeah, so my name is JD Adkins. I coach at Hartselle High School, which is in North Alabama. It's a 6A school. Been coaching now for going on 11 years. Was born and raised in Alabama, played high school football here in Alabama, and then started coaching in Alabama. So that's a little bit about me quickly. Lundberg, yeah.
Yeah, David Lundberg. I'm currently the offensive line coach at Vestavia Hills High School. We're a 7A program. We're basically right in the middle of Birmingham, but kind of right on the south side of Birmingham. And I'm going into year 8. Well, this is year 8, going to be year 9, I guess, of coaching. Actually was born in Pennsylvania, but I moved to Alabama when I was like 6, so I claim Alabama. So I'm an Alabama guy. I actually coached a couple years out of state, but Alabama's home, so we ended up coming back and don't plan on leaving. So that's.
Yes. So these two guys, JD and David, they just got off a FaceTime call with Coach McNally. And Coach McNally said he wanted all of the coaches in Alabama to follow him. Would y'all like to share Coach McNally's message about his followers and what he's trying to do and what number he's trying to get to?
Yeah, so Coach is trying to get. So first of all, if you don't follow Coach, you're missing out on a lot of great content. First of all, most of it is really informative. That's something I said to him is he's giving out info that takes years of coaching and playing and doing things wrong, basically to figure out for just free. And so you're missing out on that. And then also, he's a really fun follow on Twitter. You're going to see him do a lot of chin ups, and he's out there making jokes. And you know, Coach, forgive me if you ever actually see this, but he only kind of halfway understands how Twitter works. So he
doesn't want to know. He put my address on Twitter, told people to take a $5 bill and stick it in an envelope.
I did see that, and I was like, oh man, I wonder if that got pre-approved or not. But
it did. I'm the only one stupid enough to say, yeah, go ahead and do it, Coach.
Well, but he's trying to get to 10,000 followers. And in all seriousness, though, this guy's got decades of NFL and high level football. You know, the cliche saying is he knows more ball, or he's forgotten more ball than we'll ever know. If there was anybody that statement was true about, especially when it comes to the guys in the trenches, that's true about him. So you guys need to give him a follow because he's doing great things for a position that's really dear to me and JD. But you know what a lot of people would say is the most important position. So great info out there, great follow. Took some time out of his day to talk to 2 nobodies from Alabama. And so y'all make sure that you follow him on Twitter.
So what you got, JD? How did you feel talking to Coach McNally?
What an unbelievable experience to hop on this chat, and then all of a sudden you've got one of the goats of the game right there talking to you. Like that's outstanding. Kind of like David said, I mean, he kind of half knows how to use Twitter, and he's already putting out better and more content than probably all of us combined. Like, the guy's a legend. The content's unreal. We need to follow it. We need to spread it. He's at 4,000, I think is what he said. We got to get him to 10,000 and above and beyond that because he frankly, he just deserves it. I mean, he's the man.
Man, I'm telling you, I'm not going to eat for a week because he told me that I was fat. He said, what do you weigh, like 250? I said, Coach, I only step on a scale, but I've lost weight. If you go back and watch when I first came on this thing, I fired both of my coaches because they complained about podcast being an hour and 20 minutes with the best coach in Virginia. So I was like, I'm taking this thing over. You guys are done. And now I got these guys from Alabama, David and JD. They're two rising stars in the profession. So Coach McNally wants 10,000. Coach McNally's going to be on Tuesday night, y'all. Okay, so everybody down in Alabama, we need y'all to be on there. But the sports workbook guys were the guys that told me this: you got to get up with the Alabama coaches, because the Alabama coaches are serious, and the Alabama high school football chat is serious. So which one of y'all want to tell me about the history of the chat? How did that all start going on?
Yeah, so a couple years ago, COVID happens and everything gets kind of shut down. And like most of us, probably a lot of coaches went to Twitter, and there was a lot of good content being shared. And it was just kind of this blossoming time of information. And I think there was a post that went out one night that said, here's all the chats that go on during the week. And there was a blank spot on Thursday. There was nothing going on. And I think David was the one that commented on it and said, it'd be cool if we had something that represented our state, an Alabama thing that filled that spot. We got to talking through DMs and messages, and figured we'd give it a shot. And it has grown and blossomed. And 2.5 years later, here we are. And it is just insane to see how it's taken off and how serious the coaches in our state take it and how they want to be involved, and how it's grown into clinics in the summer and some of the new stuff we're putting out right now. And it's really taken off.
So David, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, really, really similar to how JD feels. It's kind of something that when we first started it, it's like, all right, we'll give it a shot. Honestly, not to undersell it, kind of thought it might last a few weeks, maybe a few months, and it'd fizzle out, and it's pretty much done the opposite. It's branded the Alabama football chat because we're both from Alabama. We're Alabama guys, but it's open to anybody. I want to make sure that that's clear. We don't say, oh, no, you're not from Alabama, you can't join in. But, we've had guys check in that are coaching like in Germany and overseas and Europe and leagues and stuff like that. And we've had guys from California, and we've had guys from Florida. We've had guys from, Arkansas, everywhere, all over the country, all over the world, really. And like JD said, and we can get into some of it in a little bit, but it's grown into other content that we're trying to put out. And but it's not us, it's not JD and I, it's we're trying to facilitate the coaches in our state and all across the country to put out, to give them an avenue to grow, to learn, to network, to make connections, and things like that. And we've just really, I hate to be cliche, but we've just been really blessed and overwhelmed with what it's grown into. We were actually, JD and I went to a clinic yesterday. Actually, we ended up meeting up and riding together, and we were talking on the way. And it's just like we still at times can't believe that it's turned into what it is. Like, we'll be like, man, sometimes it's annoying. We've got this content to put out, and we got to contact this guy to get this done, and we got to do this, that, and the other. And I'm like, man, but who would have ever thought we'd have these problems of we're complaining about the people that want stuff, that want stuff from us, and so we're really fortunate. I hope that it just keeps growing. It's kind of been exponential over the last, like you said, 2.5 going on 3 years now. And it's just, I'm kind of blown away, and I kind of just keep waiting for it to come to an end, if that makes any sense, because it just doesn't seem like it really should be that big of a deal. But we've had such a great response, and it's not because of us. It's because of the coaches out there that are like-minded and want to network and want to learn and grow. So it's really more of a testament to the coaching community in Alabama and just as a whole, but it's been great.
Yeah. JD, what you think? Anything?
Yeah, no, it's kind of like what David said. We started this thing with the idea of, we're two very like-minded people in very similar situations as being, younger coaches that are kind of at the beginning of our careers, and, wanting to grow and not only grow, but network and connect with coaches and just kind of see our game in our state flourish a little bit. And so we put this thing out there with the hopes that, who knows, maybe we get a couple bites, maybe a small little community forms, and it just took off to the point where it really showed the type of coaches we have in our state, and not only how hungry they are to learn scheme and technique and drills and culture and all that stuff, but how hungry they are to connect. And you see, like a big community kind of formed from it. And like you said, blossomed into the clinic last summer and some of the other stuff we're doing. But like, it's crazy. I don't know what other word to use other than it's just crazy. But it's also encouraging. It shows you that there are some really good people in our profession, and especially in the state, and that they're in it for the right reasons. And at the end of the day, they want to give the best content they possibly can to their kids, and they're willing to get on a Twitter chat, or they're willing to go to a summer clinic for a whole day, or they're willing to, submit these videos to us that we're putting out with the 2-minute clinic stuff, or whatever it is. That they're open arms, the doors open, they're not hiding anything. They want what's best for our game. They want what's best for our kids.
Yeah, when y'all say that, during COVID, everybody turned to Twitter and everything and these Zoom clinics, I think during that time, just to share with y'all, I've been coaching for 24 years now. So it was only around year 20. But that COVID deal was kind of like a halftime for me. And people were like, Troy, what are you doing without football? I mean, dude, I'd never taken a break in 20 years. So I had the worst season I've ever had that spring of the COVID, but I mean, it was like a break for me. And there were so many people starting these things and podcasts and Zoom clinics. Now I'm like, what is it? Yeah, 3 years too late. But it seems like maybe a lot of those people already fizzled out, because I'm like an in-person clinic guy. So talk about that. Has a lot of the people that started stuff during COVID fizzled out, but y'all are still going?
I think some of it's still going. I know some of it has stopped and it slowed down because, back during when it first started, you had a Zoom clinic every night for every area of content for every sport. It was insane, the level of content being put out. You could jump on any night and be in a Zoom room with Gus Malzahn or Brendan Marion or any of these guys at any point. Like, it was insane.
I know Brennan.
And yeah, some of that slowed down, I think, with some of the bigger guys. But I think what it's done is it's shown a lot of the high school coaches and maybe some of the smaller college coaches as well, kind of the ease of access that we actually have to some of these people. And so some of that's continued. I don't know, David can speak more to it, but that's kind of what I've noticed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that definitely, people have fizzled out as, stuff is, gradually gotten back to normal. I think everybody's pretty much in life as they were, pre-COVID for the most part. At least I hope so, for everybody's sake, kind of that normalcy. But, when the blessing and the curse of COVID was for a lot of us in football, our worlds kind of came to a halt, I teach and JD teaches. A lot of us coaches teach, especially at the high school level. There's some that don't, but, we didn't go back to school for it's kind of like, I think for me, I remember we went on spring break and never went back. That's kind of how it happened. We went on spring break, and in that week that we were on spring break, we never went back. And so, I think that's where that really came from, was people suddenly had free time that they didn't know what to do with. And then as responsibilities have come back, I think people have slowly had to cut some of that stuff. Luckily, we've not had to do that. We've actually grown, but we've probably grown because other people have had to take an exit and bow out to some of the stuff they were doing. But yeah, I would say some people have fizzled out. I would say it's probably not by choice, because I think everybody loved the camaraderie and the sharing and the growing that was going on. But I've definitely seen a downtick in a lot of that. But we've just been fortunate that, honestly, we've grown every, we call them seasons, because, our chat takes place in the off season of football. So we're in our third season of our chat. And we've grown every season from the first year, second year to now. So luckily that's helped, and hopefully we can continue to do so,
Yeah, man, it's crazy even for me to think about. Like, I missed out on all that. So, like, I guess I'm like Coach McNally. I had Twitter and everything, but I really didn't use it as a resource to, learn about football.
Yeah.
I've been coaching for 20 years, but asking for Coach McNally, who are the top offensive line coaches to follow on Twitter? Now, he wants to know who's out there. Like, who should Coach McNally be following?
Ooh,
Like, just give me 3 guys each.
okay. Let me think for a minute. If JD, if you want to go first, I want to think for a minute. But so first I'm gonna do. I know this is kind of supposed to be about us and our thing, but I'm gonna plug in Coach Schiffman. He runs. He helps run the Hog Football Chat, which is on Monday nights, and it's all O-line play, every chat. So he's one for sure. The issue with some of the not to get on a tangent here, but the issue with some of the top,
we go, man, get it.
Well, the issue with some of the top guys out there, they're recruiting 24/7. They're not putting out actual O-line content for you to see.
Yeah.
So that's where it kind of gets tough is when you think of some of the top names in O-line coaching, like Bedenbaugh at Oklahoma. Well, he's not putting out O-line content,
No.
and if he was, everybody'd be eating it up, but he's not. So I'm trying to think. There's not.
I'll give you a couple while you're thinking. I got a few on the top of my head. The number one that probably that I've learned a ton from and still puts out some good stuff is, and I don't know if you've heard of him, but Velocity Football is a O-line training group in Georgia, a little bit outside of Atlanta. I don't know the exact town. I went and visited with them in, I guess that would have been 2019, and went to their place. They opened the door, showed us everything, all the equipment, how to use it, all the drills they do. And in the last 3-4 years, they have blown up. I mean, they're training NFL guys now. They're doing a ton of stuff, and they put out a lot of great content. Another one in our state, who's known as kind of a big-time O-line guy, is Coach Yeager over at Mountain Brook.
Yeah.
He doesn't put out a ton of content, but just from knowing him throughout the state and seeing him at some of our local clinics, definitely one of the top O-line guys in our state. Who else you got, David?
I would probably say, really kind of how I got to, and I don't know that I've ever even met him in person. So I got 2 guys. One I've never met in person. He started a few years ago back. I think he called it like the O-line lunch or something. I can't remember what he called it, but Matt Jones is his name.
Yeah.
And he put out some really good content. I think he's at, last I remember, he was at like Tennessee Martin or something like that.
Yeah, I think he followed me. I got to hit him up, man.
And he's got a lot of good content. And then I'm going to butcher his last name. I actually met him at a clinic last year. He's the O-line coach at Bryant University. I think it's Steven Sioshi. I think that's I'm going to butcher his name, but he puts out great stuff too. And a super down-to-earth guy that, he's just kind of like Coach McNally. Like, he'll just sit and talk to anybody about O-line play. Super cool guy. He probably doesn't, even remember meeting me, but that's fine. I've had plenty of those handshakes where the other guy doesn't remember, but he puts out great content, really knowledgeable guy. And, he'll be a big, he already is pretty big time to guys that know anything, but he'll be, wearing a big polo probably sooner rather than later. So.
Yeah, because I think I had his brother-in-law is I think that's what he told me. The O-line coach at West Florida, Steve. I think they're related somehow. Okay. He recommended him, and Steve hit me up and was just thanking me about Coach McNally, and I was like, well, dude, I have John Strollo coming on. John Strollo's already done 2, and John Strollo's coming back. So we've had some real good O-line guys, man. I'm going to hit all those guys up, and I'm going to see if they want to come on too. But as far as the state of Alabama, like, who are the top coaches? Who are the top programs for somebody like myself that's ignorant, that's in Virginia and has no clue?
Okay. So obviously if you think Alabama high school football, everybody's heard the name Hoover High.
Yeah.
That's actually an in-region rival for us, Vestavia Hills and Hoover. So they've, I can't remember the exact stat, but it's something like they played in the state semifinals like 15 of the last 16 years or something like that. And they've won. They hadn't won one in about 4 or 5 years, but they'd won probably like 7 or 8 state titles in that stretch. That's the standard of, what everybody is chasing for as far as a program. Recently, it's been Thompson High School, which that's another in-region game for us at Vestavia Hills. So I get an up-close and personal view with all these guys. They've won. I think they just won their 3rd in a row. I think that's right, and they played in 4 in a row. So those are really the 2, flagship programs. Hewitt Trustful, which is just on the other side of Birmingham, which is also a region game for us, is usually a top 100 program in the state. I think I saw something the other day. We had, I think it was 6 Alabama programs were top 300, depending on what ranking you go by in the country. But then I want to give, some props to some of the small schools that nobody's ever going to hear of, like a guy that JD and I have actually become pretty good friends with. He actually just retired, but Coach Steve Smith ran a great program at a small school called Piedmont. They were a 3A program. To give you an idea of when I say small school, 9 through 12, you're probably looking at 300-400 kids. But they've won, I think it's 5 state titles since like 2009, somewhere in there. Which is hard to do when you're at a school that only has that many kids. You're truly a victim to the gene pool, and they do a great job. Fife High School with Coach Benefield. They're another small school that every year I think they've won like 4 of the last 5 in whatever classification they've been in. So a lot of great high school football in Alabama on every level. There's small schools, big schools that are good year in and year out. Like I said, we've got, any given year, you're going to have 5 to 8 teams that are as good as about anybody in the country. The region we actually play in, Vestavia Hills, on some publication, I can't remember what it was voted like the toughest public school league in the country. Like the region, like every state does it different, like areas, regions, whatever. We have regions. So we had 3 top, I think at the time it was like 2 top 50 teams and 3 top 100 teams total, counting the 2 that were in top 50 in our region. So anyway, sorry, I talked for a long time, but
JD. Hey, that's why we're here, man. People don't want to listen to me. JD, is any that David didn't think of, or anybody you like to throw in there?
Yeah, hitting on some of the smaller schools. Coach Curtis at UMS Wright. He's won like 8 state titles.
Can't believe I didn't think of him. All-time leader in victories in state, but yeah,
no doubt they're always in the mix. Coach Danny Horn at Central Clay. He's another 8 state title guy. They're always in the mix as well. In 4A, Andalusia just won the state title this year. They're always in the mix. They're a really good coaching staff. A lot of buddies on that staff as well. I would say ones you didn't mention, 6A this year, Saraland won the state title. For the last 5 or 6 years, they've been in the mix. They'll continue to be in the mix for the next couple of years. They got a bunch of young talent that'll be playing at the highest level here shortly. But I think other than that, maybe Mountain Brook is a 6A team close to David's area. That coach, like I mentioned, Coach Yeager being one of the top O-line guys. He's their head coach. They do a tremendous job every year. We actually played them this year in the quarterfinals. And just an outstanding coach football team, very disciplined, very tough to prepare for. I would say that's probably the ones that I would mention.
So, like, I talked to the Texas high school football chat guys, and they have a lot of pride in their state. And I know that Alabama football is important. I mean, look at the rivalry that y'all have in that state, and that is serious. And do y'all know anything about the history of football in the state of Alabama. What could you tell me? I mean, does it start with Bear Bryant? And then where does it go from there?
I'll let JD go first since I talked for so long last time on this.
No, I would say football is definitely king in Alabama over any sport. Obviously, that's kind of starts in the national picture with the Iron Bowl and Auburn versus Alabama, but not just them. The last few years, what Coach Clark has done at UAB and what they've done down at Troy with a few different coaches, and now with South being a little bit more relevant as well. I know even West Alabama has competed at the D2 level, and David's alma mater, UNA, has done some big things in the FCS level. Football is a big deal here, and it's one of those places where, like you see on a TV show or a movie, where the town shuts down in a lot of places on a Friday night, and shops close and everyone's at the game. I'm lucky enough to be in one of those places now at Hartselle where it's all about football, and if Friday night you could probably go rob anything in the town because no one's there to protect it. They're all watching the game, and that type of atmosphere is awesome for our kids. It's awesome for our state, and I think over the last probably 5-6 years, you've seen an uptick in high-level recruits coming out of our state. I think it's only going to grow. I think Alabama's starting to be recognized in the same kind of breath as Georgia, Texas, Florida, California, some of those big-name places. The whole DMV, Maryland, Virginia area. I know that's where you're at. A lot of players come through there. I think Alabama's starting to get put in that breath a little bit, and rightfully so with the run of success of Coach Saban at Alabama since he came there, and the years that Coach Malzahn had at Auburn and Coach Chiswick, and had a run there where what it was like 5-6 years in a row where one of them was in the national title every year, and I think that just really opened the country's eyes to what's going on here as far as Alabama and gave it a little bit more respect.
Yeah. So, I think, he kind of alluded to, I think, what our state thinks about football. When you look at what Alabama and Auburn University, what they pay their head football coaches, and every one of their fans, as long as they're winning, will tell you that it's worth every cent, and I was trying to count here while JD was talking. We've got like at least nine scholarship universities in the state of Alabama that play football. And when I say scholarship, I say like NCAA universities. We've got a handful of other NAIA, I think, D3s. So just within our state, we've got probably, I would say, without counting every single one, 12 to 15 universities that play football. And we're not a super populated state. I think that's what, people fail to realize. You look at like a Los Angeles or like an LA County. LA County has like the whole population of Alabama. So that tells you, I think, a lot of what this state feels about football. I think it precedes Bear Bryant. You alluded to Bear. I think it precedes that. But I think that, the level that Bear Bryant was able to kind of elevate Alabama, the University of Alabama to, kind of made the whole state, the trickle down effect kind of want to rise up to that level. I played at North Alabama. When I was there, we were Division II. They've since transitioned to FCS. But nobody out. I heard you said something about Virginia Union before we started recording, Coach. Like nobody outside of D2 really, or outside of Alabama, will really care about North Alabama. But they were a Division II power.
Oh yeah,
3 national titles back in the '90s in a row. First D2 team invited to the White House. When I was there as a player, and then I transitioned to a GA, I was able to be a part of 3 out of 4 consecutive conference championships. A national runner-up, so I say all that. West Alabama's had success. Jacksonville State's had success. There's not very many football teams in Alabama collegiately that have not had success, and it's because of the homegrown guys in Alabama that give them such an easy recruiting field to be successful to start with. College football, especially big-time college football, has changed tremendously in the last really 15 to 20 years. And you're starting to see a little bit more parity. But, why was Alabama great? Why was USC great? Why was Texas great for so long? Well, it's because everybody in Alabama, everybody in Texas, and everybody in Southern California grew up wanting to be a Trojan or a Longhorn or a Crimson Tide. And, now it's a little different with how national recruiting has got. But I think you kind of look at these storied college programs, it's started with the homegrown talent that they could pick from. And so I think that's a testament to our state.
Anything else, JD, you want to add?
No, I think that pretty much is it. I have seen the last 4 or 5 years maybe a lot more like national rankings for Alabama high school football teams. I think that's awesome to be put in the same breath as some of the national programs that, like we mentioned from California, Texas, Ohio, Georgia. I hope it continues to grow. I hope the awareness for the level of football being played here continues to grow. And that's kind of ties into like what our mission is with the AL Football Chat, is just growing our game, growing our state, and getting us some love.
If somebody in Virginia wanted to start a Virginia high school football chat, what would their typical week look like? How do y'all manage this with being husbands and fathers and teachers and coaches? And so take me through a typical week, Monday through Monday, of what y'all's week is like to get ready for this chat.
Okay. So, first of all, I would tell you got to have a partner. All the stuff that, especially that it's grown into, I couldn't do by myself. And I think JD probably feels the same way. So we'll kind of run you through like it really, our week, kind of starts on Sunday. We have, some people that we work with. So we do a thing, with Innovate Drone Tech that we do a 2-minute clinic. So JD puts that out on Sundays. And then we also do on Mondays, we put out a tweet of the week from the previous week's chat. So we get a graphic made for that with another person that we work from. So we get that sent in on either Saturday or Sunday to get the graphic made. So I put that on Mondays.
Let me ask you about the 2-minute clinic.
Yeah, go ahead.
How does that work? How do you determine who does that and what they talk about? How do you do that, JD?
Yeah, so like you said, we partner with Drone Tech, and they wanted to, do another thing to help get their brand out there, kind of same thing we're doing, like-minded people. And we came up with the 2-minute clinic, which is exactly what it sounds. It is, I think it caps at 2 minutes and 20 seconds on Twitter is the biggest video you can post. So we started it by reaching out to coaching connections that we know throughout the state, respected guys, and said, look, we want 2 minutes and 20 seconds max of whatever you want to give us, whether it be scheme, talk over drill tape, get on the board, draw it up, talk over it. You want to show us actual drills. You want to show us practice organization. You want to show us a culture piece, whatever you want, just give it to us, 2 minutes. And honestly didn't know what to expect. Kind of like when the chat first started, like, how is this going to go? And I would say within a night, maybe 2 nights, just inbox being flooded with people wanting to be involved with this. And so people have been sending in everything from them being on the whiteboard, talking us through, like the one we posted tonight is Coach Shay Monroe at Asheville High School. And he's a single wing guy. And so it's a 2 minute 20 second clip of him on the whiteboard talking about 7 or the wingback counter out of the unbalanced single wing. And a couple weeks ago, we had Scott Goolsby, the defense coordinator at Auburn High School, who's a previous Broyles Award winner, top assistant in the country. He posted a 2-minute video of him talking about linebacker fits in their system. How do they call them? How do they talk about them? How do they teach them? We've done 3 weeks now, and we've got enough content to go for as long as we want to at this point. So
smart.
So we post about it, and people are starting to submit stuff without us even having to ask at this point. They just want to be involved. People love the idea. Again, the whole thing goes back to our original mission, which is spread the name of coaches in our state. How can we get them? How can we get our state grown, our game grown, but also, how can we help young coaches? Which is, that's what we are, right? We want to learn. So, bite-sized content to put out for coaches. It's not anything groundbreaking. It's not huge, but if you can take one nugget away, then I think it's worth it to spend 2 minutes watching a little clip. And so we've started doing that on every Sunday, and we'll continue to do that. And it's one of my favorite things that we're doing right now. I think it's just a good way to kind of check all the boxes for what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
So what day are we on now? Tuesday?
Yeah. So we just finished up Monday there. So put that out Tuesday. Right now, we don't have any content that we put out on Tuesday, but we actually have something in the works. I don't want to give away too much from that because it might fizzle out. I hope not, but we have something in the works for Tuesday. Then Wednesday we do JD does a coaches spotlight. So for a while it was, just somebody in Alabama like that we either knew or that we knew of. That's the other thing is we try really hard not to be like the good old boys club where we just like it's us and our buddies like trying to make ourselves look good. Like we did, for our coaches spotlight, it's been a few times. It's been guys we don't even know that don't participate in the chat that we don't talk to, but they had a great year or have had a couple great years, and we wanted to spotlight what they've done. But anyways, what it's been the last few weeks has been spotlighting the what we call our mentor coaches that are going to be participating in our summer event. So that's been our Wednesday content for the last several weeks. And then Thursday's the chat. We kind of relax Friday and Saturday. And then Sunday we get rolling again. But with the chat, I guess, we put out, just to give you our structure, we have a welcome tweet at 8:00 on the dot. And then at 8:10, we have a question. 8:20, we have a question. 8:30, we have a question. 8:40, we have a question. 8:50, we have a question. And then 9:00, we kind of sign off there. And honestly, usually by like 9:15, I have to turn my notifications off, or I can't go to sleep because my phone doesn't stop buzzing. I usually get notifications from the previous week chat till about Sunday or Monday. Yeah. People will still be liking or commenting and everything, but actually one time, it hasn't happened since, but one time actually we did hit I think it was the top 50 trending things on Twitter last season. So that was kind of cool. But so that's a basic week. And then what we didn't put into that was me and him talking back and forth about what questions we want to put out. What tweet do we want to be the tweet of the week? What, we're kind of making our arguments for what we think it should be. Who do we want to do the spotlight on? The dialogues that we're having. And then, conversations that we're having with sponsors and guys that have signed on to help us out or to try to help each other about, hey, what content do you want with your tweet this week? Or, are you guys going to re-up with us? All those conversations that go into it, kind of like I said, sometimes it's like, man, this is annoying, but I can't believe it's a pretty good problem to have most of the, when all things considered. But JD, did I miss anything? It actually, honestly, saying all that out loud makes it sound more busy than it feels.
Yeah.
Because we've kind of gotten into a rhythm with it, but but imagine, doing all that on your own, it would be, it would almost feel like a full-time job, but so.
Yeah. I don't know much about these chats, the hashtags. I was trying to explain them to Coach McNally, but yeah. I remember when I was assistant principal, they'd have a hashtag, something for educational leadership, but y'all specifically have question 1 through, 6 questions or 5 questions y'all ask?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 5 questions, and then everybody answers that one particular tweet, replies to that one.
Yeah. So
most people do. Go ahead, JD.
No, yeah. There's kind of a couple different ways people do it. Most of them are kind of like you're saying. They click on David's tweet, which is question 1, and they reply to it. Some of them just hashtag it, which throws it in the thread that you can follow where everything goes down. What we love personally is seeing not the replies, but the replies to the replies and the conversations that get started. That's what I love to see each week is, one guy shares his answer and that sparks a question from somebody else, and it leads into 3 or 4 guys talking about what they do and all that. And now you've created a clinic, like you've created a social type setting.
It reminds me of a message
one
board.
Question. Yeah, and that's what it turns into, and it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, it turns almost into, that's what I'm thinking. Like, I remember these coaches' message boards that Coach Bill Mountjoy, my mentor, used to get kicked off of because he only believes in one back. And if you don't believe in one back, he's arguing. He's got evidence from Sid Gilman and McNally. And, I mean, he wants to know, like, where did you learn it? And so, yeah, I mean, it's almost like a message board, but it's better. Because everybody, you don't have to go to the message board to be a part of it. You can go on Twitter.
No, and what's great is, and we get these comments every week is, hey, I love what you guys are doing. And I'm like, well, I haven't seen you respond to anything. Well, I read along. Like, well, there's a ton of guys that are just literally just reading through this each week, and you don't even know they're there participating, but you really don't even know the full scope of the people you're touching with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that's almost the same way with this, because I mean, I've only been doing these 5 weeks. I've done over 100. So yeah, I got a problem.
It's a good problem.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Have either of y'all ever been to the Divorce City?
No.
Not hopefully never go there.
I wrote the map. Like, I drew it. I can teach you how to go there. All right, and pretty much put football before everything. That's the secret to it. But man, y'all got a busy week, and y'all do this for how long? When does it start? When does it end?
Go ahead, David.
All right,
you got
it.
I'm trying to think. Normally, obviously we all hope the Alabama season, the Alabama high school season, wraps up. Sorry, my dog's barking at me.
That's all right, man.
Wraps up at about the last week, the first week of December. I think it's usually, and we all always hope that we're playing that week. So we usually have that week, and then it's either the week or the week after we start. It kind of just depends on when Christmas holiday is going to fall. Like this week, I think we had 2 before like Christmas holiday hit, and then after that. And anyways, it pretty much runs up until people start fall camp. So we go about 6 to 8 months strong. We stop for if there's like a major holiday that happens to fall on a Thursday, or like if there's like a major clinic that we just happen to know that a lot of people are at and nobody's really going to be participating, we'll take that off, whatever. But pretty much other than that, we're rolling.
Yeah, I'm very, very impressed. So it isn't actually, y'all don't have a Twitter that it's just the hashtag, right? Y'all run it through your own personal.
Yeah. And we bounced around the idea of getting like an account to run the chat through. But ultimately, like, we wanted to be like more accessible to the people. Like, we didn't want to be
ghost account.
Anonymous.
Like, you don't know who's running it.
Yeah. We wanted to be kind of held accountable by people knowing who we are and be more accessible to people, like and just so we kind of just stuck with just doing it through our personal accounts, and we just kind of rotate stuff. And I feel like it's kind of actually, I think it's helped us, because it's not like, kind of like you said, it's not talking to like a robot, like just some logo account. It's 2 guys that have, like, I've got a picture of me and my wife as my profile picture. Like, you kind of get an idea of who we are, kind of deal. But JD, you can hit on that too if you want. But
yeah, I was just thinking about like all the different, like, y'all talked about the Zoom clinics. I mean, I don't know if I did a Zoom clinic. I helped start a coaches association during COVID, and we had some Zooms, but I don't remember ever watching anybody on a Zoom clinic. But like, you could do a Zoom clinic, you could do a Twitter space, you could do like a hashtag chat. why do some people prefer the hashtag chat like y'all's? Is it because multiple people can talk at a time, or you don't have to listen to somebody and be quiet, or what is so popular about it?
That and just the way the hashtag works, when you use a hashtag on a tweet, it automatically throws it in the thread. And so on a Thursday night, if you go to your search bar and type in hashtag AL football chat, and then I click on latest instead of top, well, I can scroll from the very first tweet to the very last tweet that uses that hashtag, and everything is right there, and I don't have to leave and go back and forth and in and out. I can just scroll up and down and see everything that's there. So I think the ease of access would be the best way to describe why we use the hashtag.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I've actually had people ask us, or ask me or ask, us, whatever. Why don't we do a Zoom, or why don't we do a podcast? And I'm like, well, first of all, we're already pretty busy. We'd love to do a podcast. We've talked about doing an Alabama football chat podcast, and it's like, okay, when?
But then you can only have one person on there, 2 people.
Yeah.
Then you can have 100 people.
Right. And then but then we've talked about a Zoom too, about what have you ever done like a chat live? And I love the idea of it. I think it's a better idea than a reality, because it's going to turn into what we don't want. I think, anytime you've been like a real large group discussion, I think a handful of people start talking and everybody else fades to the background for the most part. And we want everybody to feel like they have a voice in what we're doing. We don't want anybody to, for lack of a better term, I guess, have a bad experience with what we're doing. We know that what we do isn't for everybody. There's a lot of people that, probably think that the Twitter chat is like a joke and it's a young person's thing and they don't get it. And that's fine.
I think Coach McNally has made some shots at young coaches, and he wanted everybody to mail me $5. Take a $5 bill, stick it in an envelope, and put a stamp on it and send it to my house. And he put my address on Twitter. And I told him, I said, Coach, people don't have cash. And I said, they don't even have stamps. He goes, everybody's got stamps. And I said, Coach, these guys don't even know how to write an envelope out. And the coach from West Point, Army West Point, told me that their coach actually has to teach guys at West Point to do it. So that you're right, man. I mean, times have changed. And I mean, we've been on here for 47 minutes. I mean, we could probably sit here and talk all night. I mean, we haven't even gotten into X's and O's or where y'all coach or nothing like that. But mention some of the coaches that had an impact on y'all. Give them their flowers. Who was it that helped change y'all's lives, led y'all into coaching, have helped y'all since you've been coaches?
Well, I kind of owe everything that I've been able to experience and accomplish to some of the coaches at North Alabama. I was fortunate enough my last 2 years there as a player. Coach Bobby Wallace had returned, and I learned so much about leadership from him.
Like what? Give me one thing.
Man, really, I learned a lot more when I was able to be a GA with him, and I got to sit in on some meetings. He just has this unbelievable knack that he gets people, and he gets what people need, and he understands that. And it's kind of something that he can't. If you've never seen anybody that's like that, I can't explain it. But he knows people and what they need, and he gives them that, and it allowed us to be really, really successful at UNA. And so, everybody says, oh, this is a people business. And he got that, and he got people, just understood the value of taking care of people and trying to make UNA be a place that people want to be. And that's something that I've carried with me. And I don't even know if he did that on purpose, but he did that for me. And that's something I've taken is I try to make my school my position group a place where kids want to play and a place where kids want to be. And I try to be a coach that they want to be around. So I gotta say him. And then my offensive coordinator, when I was there, Coach Cody Gross, who's actually the head coach at Athens High School in Alabama now. He was very similar, kind of cut from the same cloth, but always led with outstanding integrity. Always, believed in doing the right thing and doing things right and not cutting corners and really kind of like being a man's man and being a competitor and just wanting to win but wanting to win the right way. And I know all that stuff sounds like cliche, but when you see guys that really live it, it really kind of hits home for you. And so those would be two guys just right off the top of my head that really like. Coach Wallace doesn't really, he's older and retired now, and he doesn't really, talk to anybody now. But I still talk to Coach Gross, every few weeks to a month, and just keep in touch. And I love him, and he's been unbelievable for me as a person and a player, and as a coach too. Just they poured a lot into me, and I hope to take what they've given me and give it to others too, because it's played out in my life big time.
That's awesome. JD, who you got?
Yeah, so I played high school football at Opelika High School, which is right outside of Auburn. And my head coach was Brian Blackman, who is now the special teams coordinator at Central Florida. And then my OC was Brian Moore, who is actually my current boss now at Hartselle High School. So those two guys, along with my O-line coach, Buster Daniel, poured into me in high school, turned me into the player that I was, and it helped me realize that football is what I wanted to do and it was what I loved. And they opened the door for me to immediately start coaching as soon as I graduated. I mean, I was 18 years old and a freshman in college, and I was coaching on our freshman staff at Opelika. And so got into the business really early. And then obviously Coach Moore now, getting to work with him at Hartselle. Like I said, he was my offensive coordinator in high school. Coming full circle now to work for him at Hartselle. This is my first year here. And I just give him a lot of credit for teaching me how to prepare, teaching me how to be organized, teaching me how to be structured with what I do, how to be efficient with your time, how to prioritize what you're doing in life, and just really opening the door for me to step into coaching and showing me what it was really about, and how to stay centered with your purpose and what's most important, which is the kids, and putting their needs first. And then also shouting out Barry Simmons, who gave me my first coordinator job when I was 21 years old and had no clue what I was doing, but let me be me and let me fail and let me try and experiment and grow, and just did it with grace and did it with patience, and that I didn't understand at the time. And now with age and wisdom have come to learn that, the true impact that he had on me and my career. So those would probably be some of the main names I would shout out.
Yeah, I usually ask guys, like, give some advice to the younger coaches, but I'm going to take this a different way. Give some advice for the older coaches, guys who are my age, guys that were born before 1980. Like, being young coaches, what could you say to the guys that were before 1980? What can they do to help? What's on y'all's heart as far as that? Seeing Coach McNally, getting to meet me, some of the other older coaches. What would y'all like to say?
I think the biggest thing I would say is be open and like, because as a young coach, I can remember coming into the profession as an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, and being full of ideas and full of energy and full of wanting to do stuff and wanting to have all these titles and roles that I was clearly not ready for. And there were some really good older coaches that were patient and they were graceful, and they took me under their wing and said, look, man, like, first of all, calm down. But second of all, like, here's why we're here. Here's the purpose. Like, scheme is cool and X's and O's are cool and all that's great. But remember why you're here. Remember it's about the kids. Remember that we're growing young men. remember the impact that coaches had on you, and now give that back. I would say my advice for older coaches would be, take a young coach under their wing and show them what they don't know, and be patient and have grace with them and give them opportunities to fail, give them opportunities to grow. I think that's a lot of my biggest lessons in coaching have come from times where I was allowed to take ownership of something, or times where I was allowed to do something and I was given that room to fail, and then taught and mentored through it. So that would be my advice.
What you think, David?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had a different point to hammer home, but I'm going to kind of sound like a broken record here. I'm going to phrase it probably a little differently, but I would say kind of, not to step on toes here, but don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone as an older coach. The world is changing. The way people communicate is changing. Like talked about it with Coach McNally earlier, like the stuff he's putting out used to take decades to learn. The information that you can find on just Twitter, much less the internet for just football, used to take years and decades to learn. So the way things are going is changing. Don't be afraid to get outside of your comfort zone and get into that and digest some of that. And kind of like what JD said, give back to that. I think about a quote all the time that somebody said, I wish I remembered where I heard it, but I heard somebody say it. Nobody wants to be bad at stuff. Like nobody's like, I'm going to go play football so I can be bad at it. Nobody coaches and says, all right, I'm going to go be the worst coach I can be today. So there's nobody that wants to be bad. There's just ignorance. And I don't mean that as like to shame people, but like JD said, like he's had coaches that have poured into him when he didn't know any better. And I think that's what, what has been missing in some aspects. The younger coach generation has the reputation of they want tags, titles, and money, and they don't want to line the field and plunge the toilets. And don't get me wrong, there is some entitlement out there. But I think that coaches are automatically, I don't want to say automatically, that's probably too harsh, but a lot of young coaches get put into the young coach box because of simply being young. And that's not always true. There's a lot of young coaches out there that have been able to digest a bunch of football and a bunch of content and a bunch of scheme and a bunch everything. Like I said, stuff that took some of these old coaches years to get through, just because times have changed. And really, I'll do a shameless plug here while we're at it. We've alluded to our summer event, and so what we do is, last year it was called the Alabama Football Chat 35 Under 35 Summit. This year we've rebranded it a little bit to make it a little more sustainable, but this year it's called the Alabama Football Chat Next Gen Academy. And so what it's designed, we're taking like 40 to 50, quote unquote, up and coming coaches in the state. So they're either young head coaches now, or they're assistant coaches in the state of Alabama. And we've got like 15 established championship winning coaches coming to be mentor coaches. And we have a day-long event where we have small group discussions on various topics. And it's not X's and O's. It's not schemes. It's about, I hate to use the buzzword, but it's about culture. It's about leadership. It's about, handling a budget. It's about, handling a community, about working with your admin. It's all the stuff that you don't get to learn as an assistant coach, really. So we're trying to push the envelope on getting the next generation of coaches in our state prepared to be head coaches. And we've had an unbelievable amount of support from the coaches in our state doing this. So I said we've got 15 coaches. I wish I had it in front of me, but I think, JD, help me if I'm wrong here, collectively it's like over 2,000 wins. It's like
it's
40
actually,
state championships or something.
I've got it right here. It is in the past, so like you said, we got 15 guys, and we did the math on their careers and where they've been, and we came up with these numbers, and I'm trying to pull it up right now. So give me 1 second.
Yeah. And
so is this in person?
Yes, this is an in-person event. And while he's pulling this up, why this kind of came full circle to this event is my advice to old coaches would be to be more like some of the older coaches in our state. We're having this event, and we're not paying. First of all, we're not charging anybody a cent to come to it.
Wow.
And we're not paying anybody a cent to do it. They're all doing it to help our state and to help the younger generation of coaches. So you're talking about old coaches. Be more like our coaches in our state that are willing to spend their money, their time, and give out their knowledge and their insight for free to our young coaches for free.
So here's the numbers I got for you. We got 15 guys, combined 41 state titles, 319 years of experience at the high school level, and almost 3,000 total wins. And like David said, every single one of them is coming for free on their own dime, on their own time in the summer on a Saturday when they could be at the beach with their family, enjoying their off time. And they're coming for free all the way to Vestavia, where we host it, to pour into young coaches. And it's, like I said, we did it last year. It was absolutely incredible to witness. To kind of selfishly put it, it's like the clinic you always wanted to be at, like I always wanted to be at, but never, like, it didn't exist. And to be able to sit in a room with, because a small group is three of these head coaches and about 8 or 9 of these assistants, and to be able to be in a small setting like that and to have their brains to pick and ask any question I could possibly want, and just fill my notebook with content to prepare myself to be a head coach. Like, the opportunity to witness that last year was incredible. We're hoping this year it's going to be even better. Like you said, you hear the numbers. That sounds unreal, but we promise you it is real. I'm fired up already about it. I can't wait till it gets here in June.
Yeah, and it's, and again, to just speak, it's all about the coaches of our state. It's not an us thing. Like I said, we don't make money from it. We don't and we make that clear. Like, guys, like, we're not charging you to come to this. We want it to be, honestly, we hope it grows to be where it's like a rite of passage, where it's like something that people want to be a part of, where they're hoping to be a part of it. And I hope it's getting there. I know that we actually talked about it the other day, is, hopefully we don't have some people that have hard feelings if they don't get to come. But we take nominations for it. It's not just whoever wants to come can come. It's kind of like you've been identified as a guy that's going to be a head coach or is going to have a chance to be a head coach in the future. And we want to make sure that those guys in leadership positions are the right guys for our state, for the kids in our state, and all of that. And, if we wanted to, we could probably have 200 to 300 guys, assistants and whatever come. And we would probably have 50 head coaches come be a part of it and pour into people if we wanted to. But we just don't have the time, the resources, the venues for that now. If it grows more, we hope that's a problem we have to figure out is that there's more of a demand for it. But so again, kind of a self-serving answer there, but I hope that the older coaches everywhere can be more like the older coaches that we've gotten to know in our state, because it's unbelievable what they're willing to do to pour into the coaches in our state.
Mm-hmm. Well, man, I'm so impressed with y'all, and I want to get y'all back on before that. Maybe we'll do it like a few weeks before, so y'all can pump it up and talk about who y'all got coming. And
yeah, I'd love to do even a before and after.
Let's do it, man.
Kind of recap it and how everything went.
So if there's anything else y'all want to say to the coaches out there, how can people get in contact with y'all? I guess y'all are picking the people that are going to the thing, but anything else y'all want to say before we sign off?
Yeah, I'll say on Twitter, like I said, AL Football Chat, hashtag ALFB Chat. It's Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Central. We run from 8 to 9. You can join in after, join in before, join in the next day. You know, the content constantly keeps rolling. Like we mentioned earlier, 2-Minute Clinic came out about an hour or so ago for this week. You know, go check it out. Really great stuff from Coach Monroe. We want to connect. So find us on Twitter, you know, JD Adkins, David Lundberg, whatever it is. You know, we want to grow this game. We want to grow this game in our state. And we want to help coaches like us that just want to get better and just want to be better and share content and network and bridge this community to make it even better. So come find us on Twitter, and we'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, I'll kind of, I mean, I'm going to kind of sound the same here, but reach out to us, man. We're just regular guys. We're not anybody important. So you message
I'm the low
me.
man on the totem pole, man.
Hey, well,
Yeah.
but you
Yeah.
know, I'm just a regular guy. You know, I have the same problems you probably have, and I'll try to help you solve them if I can. You know, come be a part of what we're doing. It's not about me and JD. It's not an us thing. Like you said, it's about the coaches in our state and any coach that wants to be a part of what we're doing. You know, come find us on Thursday nights. Give it a shot. If it ain't for you, it ain't for you. But, you know, I get that. You know, it's not for everybody. We're, you know, no hard feelings, I promise. But come give us a check out on Thursday nights. And if you like what you see, we'll hope that you keep coming out. It's a pretty cool community. You know, I'll say this, and JD kind of mentioned it, but he didn't actually say this. JD and I did the chat together for like a year and a half before we ever met in person.
Wow.
You know, it was purely like a you know, like every you know, guy our age, whatever. It was completely over the internet thing. It was during COVID. You know, at the time he was kind of in the southern half of the state. And then he got a job kind of more, you know, actually north side of the state. And then so then we kind of met. Actually, I think it was at the state championship games. Neither one of us were playing, unfortunately, but we were there and kind of met there. But so anyways, I say that like we're all about the coaches in our community trying to just grow, like JD said. I know it sounds cliche. I know it sounds kind of like regurgitated at this point, but it really is not about us. We want to help you guys. We want to be a service to the coaching community. So come check us out, hit us up, follow us so you can be in the chat, and make sure you follow Coach McNally so that we can
No
get
doubt, got to get him to 10K, man. Follow McNally.
Yeah. Hashtag McCallie to 10K. You know,
No doubt.
No doubt. He was tripping, dude, because I think I put hashtag McNally Mafia. Oh my, he did not like that. He did not like that. He thought I was changing his Twitter name. He was tripping, dude. He FaceTimed me, said, "I'm not mad at you." And I was like, it's the Mouse McNally, Coach McNally friends. If you're a follower of Coach McNally, you are his friend. That's what he wants you to be known as. They are my friends. And that's what's so great about him is I feel like I've known him my entire life, and I've only known him 3 weeks. But that's how he makes you feel. He makes you feel like you're his friend. So, I mean, y'all the best. Alabama, it's great to be from Alabama. Is that actually a cheer?
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
It actually is. I think it actually is at Alabama.
We're Alabama, and they're not. That's why.
Right.
That's sweet home, baby.
Yeah, sweet home Alabama. Y'all the best, man. I love Alabama. I've never been there, but I love it because I love football. And Alabama's all about football. So thank y'all, man. Until next time.
Appreciate you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Thank you,
brother.
sir.
Thank you.
Bye.